Well, who saw that coming? The Pittsburgh Penguins, 5 goals in just over 10 minutes. A tired, worn, and weary group rallies to beat the younger, faster New Jersey Devils 6-3 at the Prudential Center. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski on the National Hockey Now and the Pittsburgh Hockey Now YouTube channel. I put out the bat signal on Twitter for the Q&A for the first time this season. I mean that since game 1. Here we are in game, 75, 74, 75, whatever it is. I've lost count. I genuinely sensed some fan excitement. Almost like a John Williams score rising at the climax of the movie. The Penguins found their legs. Who else? Sidney Crosby knocks in a loose puck for a power play goal. And the Penguins just took it from there. The bench picks up. Not to overlook the stellar performance, if not absolutely spectacular performance, by goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic, making his 6th straight start, his 7th straight appearance as Tristan Jarry, in the words of Coach Mike Sullivan, still battling it pretty hard with the illness. That illness decimating the Penguins locker room, just to add a little more degree of difficulty to playing 3 games in 4 days and 16 games in 30 days through March. That sort of craziness continues with 3 and 4 in the first few days of April. All on the road this month, and the Penguins won both. They beat New York, they beat New Jersey, and get this, playoffs, the Penguins are, is it 4 points? Let me double check before I give you all bum information, because I wrote it up on Tuesday afternoon. And yes, the Penguins are in fact 4 points behind the Philadelphia Flyers with 1 game in hand. So best case scenario, they're 2 points out of 3rd place. They trail the Washington Capitals, a little bit of a different scenario here. They trail the Capitals by 3 points, and the Capitals have 1 game in hand on them. But guess who the Penguins play on Thursday night? Yeah, those same Capitals. The Penguins could leave D.C. 1 point out of the wild card. I kind of feel like some guy has been telling you all of this was possible for the last few weeks. Who could that guy be? I have no idea who he might be. But let's get into the nuts and bolts of the Penguins beating New Jersey before we get to your questions. Do follow me on Twitter at @DanKingerski. Yeah, I had to add the to it because some troll took my real name several years ago. So when I moved on from Bud Moonshine, more professional and spiffy, somebody already owned Dan Kingerski, even though there's only one Daniel Kingerski on the planet. And that's probably too many for some of you. The Penguins really in the first 40 minutes, they had 38 shot attempts, but only 10 on net. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what that means. The Penguins actually had the puck in the offensive zone. They were tired. They were slow. They couldn't take that extra step, that extra stride to find that clear lane, to get it around the New Jersey forecheckers, to get it around the New Jersey defenders. They were just firing pucks into the massive bodies because they were flat-footed. It wasn't that they were flat emotionally. It's just that they were absolutely spent. Every loose puck became a New Jersey odd man rush. New Jersey knew they had the Penguins. They knew they had them by the throat, quite frankly. So it was a jailbreak. Every loose puck, 3-on-2, even a 3-on-1. You saw P.O. Joseph do some nice work on the odd man rushes, breaking them up. You saw Jack St. Ivany break up a 3-on-1 by holding his ground, faking one way, throwing the stick out the other just as the pass goes across, deflects it into the crowd, and a 3-on-1 chance went for naught. For once this season, it was the Penguins who absorbed body blow after body blow, scoring chance after scoring chance, and got great goaltending, stealing a game. And that was absolute highway robbery, what the Penguins did on Tuesday. And they couldn't have beat a better team for it because New Jersey trailed them by only 1 point in the standings. Now it's 3 points. Now the Penguins are chasing the Capitals, the Flyers, and the Red Wings. The Penguins are merely 3 points back of Detroit as well. And the Penguins also play Detroit here coming up right quick. And that'll be in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. The Penguins are winning all of these big games on the road. So Nedeljkovic, I think the final, unless they changed it here. Let me double check to make sure they didn't change it. No, Nedeljkovic only stopped, technically, 23 of 26. But it seemed like 20 of those were high danger scoring chances. The Penguins got only 21 shots on net, but they tortured Jake Allen. I don't know if Allen was just bored back there. Some goalies hate when they don't face a lot of rubber. The Penguins in the third period did something they have been lax at all season, and they got to the net. They deflected pucks around the crease. They had traffic. Evgeny Malkin's tip. I mean, well, first Sidney Crosby on the power play, 2 guys in the crease, 2 Penguins in the crease. How often has that happened? So when there's a pizza laying there, Crosby's there to knock it in. Evgeny Malkin swings around the net, lifts a leg, puts the stick kind of between his legs to deflect it. Just a beautiful goal. Ricard Raquel, not much different, around the net, and Crosby the empty netter. So you just look at, I don't quite know how they did it. I don't think they know how they did it. They just, one of those nights where you just do. So let's get to the Q&A here for these Grizzly Penguins veterans who, hey, better late than never. It would have been a complete lost season if they didn't at least have this this little run, right? Okay, so let me grab Twitter here. Bear with me. Okay, we'll just do these in chronological order. M-Dubs, just imagine if they had won the Colorado and Columbus games, or even one of them. Yeah, they would be right there. They'd be ahead of Philadelphia. They'd be in third place. But that is points in 6 straight games and 3 wins, 4 wins. Is that 6 straight? Yeah. Yeah, every game Nedeljkovic has started. 4 wins. New Jersey, New York, Columbus, overtime. Columbus win. Carolina win. Colorado overtime. Yeah, I mean, look, if they do miss the playoffs, and the odds still say that they will, although I told you last video, and I told the colleagues it was 50-50. I'm going to bump that up to 60-40 now. But if they do miss the playoffs, circle those 2 is just must-have games. Deebs87, should Ned play out the rest of the season? Well, not necessarily. I mean, look, you don't want to ride Nedeljkovic into the ground, but you surely give him the preference at this point. So does that kind of answer your question? Look, if he has a stinker, Sullivan can't be stubborn and stick with him. He's going to need a day off here. Then again, maybe not. You do ride the hot hand. Puck you. No more back-to-backs. Does Ned start the remaining games? Well, again, let's see here. Henry Senior, or Signor. Take your pick, Henry. I'll let you pronounce it however you choose. They couldn't have figured this out like 3 months ago? By the way, kudos on your great call on St. Ivany from my Wilkes-Barre trip. Really like his game. I'm glad someone noticed, Henry. Appreciate you subscribing. She had to subscribe to, in fact, read that story. I watched St. Ivany in late January. I think it was January 24th when I scouted Sam Poulin. But I very quickly realized I was watching a defenseman emerge who was ready. That night, Charlotte had their bus legs in the first period. And St. Ivany was literally tossing guys away from the crease. He kept Joel Blomqvist's sight line clean as a whistle, and Blomqvist stopped everything, and Wilkes-Barre kind of rolled that night. And I really do think it all started, or it stemmed from keeping the crease clear, keeping the shots from a distance, and St. Ivany was a part of that. So then, by the second period, I began to focus on his movement, his puck movement, and it was, I mean, he's not a speed burner, and he's certainly not a puck mover offensive defenseman, but it was adequate. He knew how to make that first pass, and in reality, that's all an NHL defenseman to be successful needs to know how to do, a.k.a. Marcus Pettersson. Defend well, make a good first pass. You can have a long career that way. And his net front work is pretty good too. Anthony Zietvat. Oh, well, Anthony didn't see the game. Wants to know about Jesse Puljujärvi. I mean, he was there. I'm not gonna shill for anybody, and the fourth line got a lot of minutes on Tuesday. In fact, I paged away from it. Puljujärvi was about 8 minutes in the third period. I don't know how much he played down the stretch. So he probably finished at 9 or 10 minutes. I would not say he was noticeable in any sort of way. It was not one of those games that will earn him more minutes in the next game. Evan Smith. I like Evan. Are stomach viruses performance enhancing? Can they get in trouble for this? I think I think if they were performance enhancing, the Penguins would say, "Bring it on more." They'll take the pain at this point. Rydia Lockhart. How long is Bunting's contract? A couple more years. So yeah, he's locked long term. I think I said this last week, and maybe it bears repeating now that more people are paying attention, are kind of coming to these videos, but also coming back to the Penguins and paying attention to the media. Adding Michael Bunting to the Penguins roster, he certainly isn't as good as Jake Gensel. Let's not put too much lipstick on that. But to quote Herb Brooks, it's not about the best 20 players, it's about the right 20 players. And Bunting certainly brings an element. That grittiness along the wall, that chippiness near the net. He does drag Malkin to those dirty areas, and he does kind of push his line to play more of that down low game that Mike Sullivan has been screaming from the rooftops for this team to play. He drags them into that in a way that Jake Gensel couldn't. And that's, again, Jake Gensel's a 40-goal scorer. You don't want to lose those out of your lineup. But adding Bunting is a little something. And which goal was it that he basically set up? The first goal. Carlson's goal, the Penguins' first goal, a lot of that was Bunting around the Devil's net. He then goes to the net, drags a defender with him, so that now there's two Devils defensemen and Michael Bunting. That opens the top of the zone for Carlson to step to the right circle and take a rip. Well, it hits both Devils defensemen and goes in the net. It just as easily could have hit Michael Bunting for his goal, but that's the kind of stuff leading to good things. Go to the net. Good things happen. Lisa, as a good superstitious fan, I will encourage you to now send Dave to all remaining away games. I'm sorry, Lisa. I was there in Colorado. I was there in Columbus. I know, but I'll be there in D.C. on Thursday. So, in fact, if the Penguins do lose to the Capitals, it will be entirely my fault and in no way, shape, or form on the players. I will take full responsibility for that. Sports fan X, would you go back to Ned against the Capitals? Well, duh. I don't even think we need to debate that, do we? Unless Ned is exhausted. Unless Mike Sullivan looks at Nedeljkovic and he's got that, the dog tongue. You go back to him. Although, if you looked at Ricard Raquel, I don't know how many of you watched the television broadcast. You looked at Ricard Raquel in the Actually, I guess it was after the game. Haley talked to him in the hallway, and Raquel was spent. He was absolutely dog-tired. He was exhausted. You could hear it in his voice that he just had nothing left to give. And, the schedule makers certainly did the Penguins no favors. I would go so far as to say it's unfair what they did to the Penguins. So few games in the month of February, so many games in March to make up for it. What was it at one point? 6 games in hand they had on their opponents? Now, if you space those out, think of how many games could have been different. Now, certainly life isn't fair, and the schedule is what it is. You have to kind of adjust it and deal with it. But these athletes are so close in terms of their skill level. The teams are so close. You can handle a couple or a few games in hand, but 6, that to me seems like the Penguins might want to have a little conversation with the schedule makers this summer. If you're going to do that, less back-to-backs. If you're going to do that to a team, figure out a way to space them out or play a couple more in October or November when legs are fresh. I think I've gotten everything here. I did it in under 20 minutes. How's that? I guess I was a little bit short-winded tonight. Let's see if I got everybody here. I should be a scout for the Penguins. Who's the next diamond in the pipeline? I'll kind of take the compliment. I do fancy myself when I go to Wilkes-Barre or I go to these minor leagues. I do kind of fancy myself as being able to separate the fugazi from the legit. I did miss badly on Lucas Svejkovsky. I thought he had a real chance, and when we talked to both Scott Young and J.D. Forrest, I kind of got the pause before they gave me a good answer. You know what I mean. When you ask somebody a question and they don't want to give you the real answer, you get that pause. So that's when I knew maybe I was in the wrong boat with Svejkovsky, but I think I've hit on more than I've missed anyway. That is just about all of them. Okay, so Penguins Capitals Thursday. I will in fact do a video from the arena. I think I might have to go back to the hotel because Washington has that stupid metro that stops running like 8 seconds after the final horn. We'll see how long the locker room takes. I might have to Uber back because the cherry blossoms in DC. Hotels downtown were literally $500-600, and they closed my favorite little dumpy spot around the corner from Ford's Theater. I forget what it was called, but I just basically, anytime I was going to DC, I just clicked to stay there. I knew to take the upgraded room and spend a few extra bucks. There was a bar that was open till 2 a.m. and the Ollie's Trolley Deli beneath it as well. And so late night eats, cheap room. Dan was happy. A developer bought it. Dan is no longer happy. So I have to stay in Bethesda Wednesday and Thursday. So if you're in the area, if you do remember, if you've followed me for a while, it was the 2017 series. I dropped my wallet in downtown Bethesda. I had it on top of my car. I drove out of the parking garage and I realized this. So I spent like an hour and a half retracing my steps all around Bethesda. The fire department finds my wallet, calls 93.7 The Fan, where I was actually doing the reporting at the time, finds me on Facebook, sends me a message. Remember I don't know if you remember the video. They actually put the lights on just for fun, came down the alleyway when there was no traffic to stop so that I would film it or at least get a kick out of it. And they delivered my wallet to me at the parking garage. So I like Bethesda very much. If they weren't so overwhelmed, one more last submission, if they weren't so overwhelmed with the Gensel trade and mourning the loss of a longtime buddy and pal, says Peter, perhaps things would be a little less urgent. Well, I do think Dubas made a mistake at the timing of the Gensel trade. His instincts told him in December. His instincts told him at the end of January. His instincts told him at the All-Star break in February to make the move, and he deferred to the Penguins core rather than his own instincts. And I think had he moved earlier, maybe he wouldn't have gotten the same deal. I kind of think he would have. The Penguins would have had time to rage and mourn and come back to earth. And at this point, you're looking at a difference of 1 or 2 games. So all of those things need to be factored in. All right, that's 20 minutes. I'm done. Like, subscribe, comment, let me have it. I'm Dan Kingerski on the National Hockey Now and the Pittsburgh Hockey Now YouTube channel.